Hello, friends, and welcome to Bottled and Bond, a discussion of the James Bond movies and lore alongside spirited companions. I am Mike Scott, and I've been watching James Bond movies for nearly 30 years, but have never really taken a deep dive into the history and lore of this film franchise. So we're going to delve into each of the 25 Eon-produced movies. During this episode, we will be sampling and discussing a spirit and or cocktail that would pair nicely with the movie. Today we'll be discussing the third movie in the franchise, 1964's Goldfinger. So find your cigarette case, prepare your favorite cocktail, shaken not stirred of course, and leave your hat at the door while we ponder this question. Do you expect us to talk, or do you expect us to die? This is episode 003, Goldfinger. Charlie, welcome aboard again.
Thank
3
you.
episodes down now.
It's good to be here. I know.
So
Watching movies and talking about them, that's pretty easy.
Very difficult. Very difficult stuff. Companion beverages, we're going to have 2 tonight, and for future reference, we're actually each going to pick one unless we decide on one together. We'll each have, kind of an idea. I've already got my idea for the next one, but we'll talk about that later. But today we're going to do start off with Goldschlager. This was Charlie's.
I mean, it has gold in it.
Goldschlager.
What else do you want?
And then later we're going to have a mint julep, and we'll talk about the mint julep a little later. Okay, so looking at this Goldschlager, it's actually imported from Canada, which I had no idea. I thought it was maybe German or Italian. Got a bunch of little gold flecks in it, though, so that's pretty cool. Did you get any gold flecks in your cup?
Well, I don't see any. See if you got any.
Yes, I got one little gold fleck in there.
All right, well, let me know how it is.
All right. Cheers. Oh, that's got a lot of cinnamon. Woo!
I love cinnamon. So to me, that's pretty tasty.
Man, you're like 3 for 3 on these.
I know.
Right?
It's like a drink version of a Red Hot, kind of. Right?
It is.
Did you drink the gold, though? Look in there and see if
I don't think I got the gold, so I still feel the same.
All right.
My wife will love that one.
Well, I always thought your wife had better taste than you.
It's true. That's very true. Start with errors and omissions. Not really a lot this time, but our geography knowledge failed us last time. So Zagreb is in Croatia.
Yeah.
Belgrade is in Serbia.
I think both would have been Yugoslavia, right?
I think so, yes. We both said Blofeld in the episode, so that was good. We of course know it's Blofeld, and we'll never make that mistake again. Spoiler alert, he may come back. News. The only news I have is the Sean Connery 4K Blu-ray set was actually announced for a release date. It's coming in early June. So, of course, I pre-ordered
of 2025, depending on when you're listening to this far in the future.
Right. Yeah. All of our future listeners in the year 3000, they won't know what a 4K is. It'll be 256K by then or something.
Yeah.
So let's get started with the plot summary for Goldfinger. After stopping a heroin drug operation in South America, James Bond flies to Miami, where he encounters Goldfinger cheating at cards. After calling out Goldfinger for the cheating and some slap and tickle with Goldfinger's assistant, Jill Masterson, Bond is knocked out by a henchman on what is most definitely not a random task. Jill is found dead, covered in gold paint. Back at HQ, M tells Bond to keep it professional while investigating a gold smuggling operation. Bond tracks Goldfinger's activities across Europe, with Jill's sister Tilly eventually joining him to get revenge for her sister's death. After Tilly is killed by Oddjob, Bond is captured by Goldfinger and is definitely expected to die. He manages to talk his way out of death by very slow laser, gets transported across the Atlantic by Pussy Galore, and is eventually tied to a nuclear device at Fort Knox, where he is most definitely expected to die. Fortunately, Pussy sees the error of her ways and helps the army stage the most believable ruse ever. The army overtakes Goldfinger's henchmen to disable the nuke and reclaim Fort Knox. Bond is rewarded for his efforts with a trip to the White House, but the plane is hijacked by Goldfinger. Bond, absolutely expected to die this time, instead shoots out a window of the plane, causing Goldfinger to get sucked out. Bond and Pussy escape the plane in a parachute just before it crashes, landing in a scenic waterside vista where they can commence with slap and tickle. Goldfinger.
Yeah, no boat.
No boat. So we got a lot of cast in this one. Obviously, Sean Connery on his third run as James Bond. Starting to look really old, you know. It's been 3 years since that first one. He looks like he went from 32 to 35, and that's a big change.
Okay, I think people looked older back in the old
I
days,
agree.
didn't they, right?
They did. Well, also, they usually do a good job, but Connery wore a hairpiece from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
And I'll point out a specific scene in this one where you can almost see it. We have Gert Frobe as Auric Goldfinger, Honor Blackman as Pussy Galore. She was best known at that point as somebody from the Avengers, not the MCU kids. It was a British show. Shirley Eaton as Jill Masterson. Tanya Mallet as Tilly Masterson, cousin of Helen Mirren. Found that interesting.
That's wild.
Harold Sakata is Odd Job. He was a Hawaiian wrestler in real life.
He was fantastic.
Yes. Bernard Lee is M. This is the third of 11 appearances. Sek Linder is Felix Leiter for this outing. This is his only appearance as Felix Leiter. Desmond Llewellyn, one of my favorites, is Q. His second of 17 appearances.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah.
Which shows you how important the American Felix Leiter is, that they just keep making him be different people and you're not supposed to notice.
I think there's only one guy that played Felix Leiter more than once up until the new ones. We got Lois Maxwell as Miss Moneypenny, third out of 14 appearances.
Yeah, she is, just like Q, she is the person I think of when I think of Moneypenny, for sure.
This one was directed by Guy Hamilton. So the first two were Terrence Young, but this one's Guy Hamilton. Guy Hamilton will direct 4 total. I wanted to add this guy just because, I mean, we'll get into it, but this movie looks great. Production design was by Ken Adam. He worked on 7 Bond movies, but he also did Dr. Strangelove.
One of the greatest movies of all time.
And Adam's Family Values.
Also, clearly one of the greatest movies of all
obviously,
time.
When you think of all these things, you have to put Adam's Family Values in there.
Definitely.
The song Goldfinger was performed by Shirley Bassey. It was composed by John Barry, who composed the original theme.
She does not hold back.
She does not. And we'll see her again, too. This is first of 3. It's premiered in London September 17th, 1964, with a wide release September 18th, 1964. Premiered in the U.S. December 22nd, 1964. So that means you get 2 Bond movies in the U.S. in 1964. And you get the Beatles and all kinds of crazy stuff happening.
Yeah, that's a good year.
Wow. Budget was $3 million, so we're up another $1 million from Russia with Love. Wait till you hear Thunderball in the next episode. This movie grossed $124.9 million worldwide. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $1 billion, $1.123 billion, and it's the 3rd highest grossing Bond movie ever.
Not too shabby.
No.
Shouldn't you be saying $3 million?
Right. So we'll talk about host history with the film. These are all going to be the same for me. I think for a while it's going to be, I just kind of discovered them as I went back from the Pierce Brosnan ones. So I assume for you, it was sometime in the 70s that you probably saw this one.
It was. And this one's so memorable. There's so many memorable parts of this one, just Bond-wise, right? I mean, the gold and the laser.
I think it's safe to say this is the one that truly blew the franchise up to the point that it just became a cultural phenomenon. So I guess with that, we'll go ahead and get started in this scene by scene breakdown. So of course we open with the famous gun barrel opening, and I did confirm that's not Sean Connery. That is a stuntman who he was a stuntman in Dr. No. He was the guy pretending to be the driver of the car when they left the airport.
Okay.
During that fight.
So you're saying the guy with the duck on his head?
No, that's a different one. There's a lot of different stunt guys in this.
Oh, okay.
But I know for a fact that he was the guy in Dr. No. So we have Bond infiltrating a drug operation. This is the one that establishes the cold opens, where you get something from Bond that really usually has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. So he's there to stop heroin trade.
Do we get to talk about the satin wetsuit that he's wearing?
Sure.
I mean, it clearly was not like a rubber wetsuit that you would think. It looked very satiny. And obviously you eventually see that he had his tuxedo on underneath that satin wetsuit.
So to go to talking about the stuntmen, there were 3 different stuntmen in this scene. When Bond comes up on the with the seagull on his head was one guy named George Leach. Then when he jumps down from the wall and kicks a guy in the face, that's a
Yeah.
guy named Alf Joint. And then when Bond runs to the gasometer, it was a third stuntman. So a lot of
Was it a stunt woman who gets hit in the face when he uses the woman as a human shield to shield the hit from one of the guys?
It's a good question. I don't know that one. We'll have to look that up. But we do get
I thought that was great. He just grabs her and turns her around and she gets hit.
yes. I think that was also spoofed in Austin Powers because what isn't? What didn't they spoof from these movies?
Everything, yeah.
Bond blows up the operation, goes back to the hotel, and there's a woman there waiting for him. And how great was it that he goes to kiss her and he can see the reflection in her eyeball of a guy coming up behind him?
That
What
was
a shot.
actually, from a movie making standpoint, I did actually appreciate that scene where you could see the reflection in the eyeball. That was pretty good for 1964, I thought.
So they tussle. Bond eventually throws him into the bathtub, and the guy goes for Bond's gun on the wall. And Bond takes the fan and just knocks it right into the water and electrocutes him.
So clearly they didn't have GFI outlets back
No,
in that
definitely
day.
not. No. But that's the first quip. Pretty good quip,
Yeah,
as Bond quips go. Shocking. Positively shocking. So from there, we go to Miami, and now the actual plot of the movie starts. We see Bond meets up with Felix Leiter, and I'm sure you noticed it. A lot of the scenes that were filmed there, you could tell it was a green screen.
Yes.
And apparently, the only actor that actually was on set was the guy that played Felix Leiter. So they got as many exterior shots as they could. And you can actually see it looks kind of weird, some of the shots, because they recreated like 2 stories of the hotel in Pinewood Studios.
Oh,
So
okay.
you could see the people standing. It looked weird
It
in
was,
some of them.
for a modern eye, that whole scene was very distracting.
Yeah.
How obvious the green screen was. I
Very
mean, of course,
disappointing.
at the time, right? And I'm sure not filming outside and being able to be on the set where you can do all the sound. But behind the card players, you could clearly see how much of a green screen it was.
Right. Sean Connery he wasn't there because he was shooting a Hitchcock movie at that time.
Okay.
I did not know he was in a Hitchcock movie. So we get Bond meeting with Leiter, and Bond puts on the greatest outfit of all time, the male romper with the powder blue romper.
So good.
Strongly considering getting one for the summer.
My wife called it a terry cloth jumpsuit.
Terry cloth jumpsuit. Nice. It's not the last romper. We'll see that in. So Felix is talking to Bond about Goldfinger, saying that he's British but doesn't sound like it. And we'll stop here to talk a bit about Gert Frobe. He was a German actor. He arrived at set, and the director realized the guy didn't speak hardly any English. So that voice you hear is not his voice, of course. It's all of it's overdubbed.
Everyone is dubbed.
Yes, he is all overdubbed by another voice.
So they just had him for his looks.
Yeah. Which, if I'm being honest, he looks perfect for the role.
He does.
Even from reading the book, it was a good cast. In the book, he's from the Balkans. They don't really expand on where he's from in the movie. Another interesting thing about Gert Frobe is prior to the release of the movie in Israel, there were rumors that the actual actor was a Nazi sympathizer. So that hurt the movie premiere. But then a Jewish person actually came out that knew him from Germany and stated that he actually helped the Jews during World War II. So then it became a huge success in Israel.
Interesting.
Yeah. So our first questionable age thing in this one is Dink and how James treats Dink. When he does start talking to Leiter, he basically tells her to get out of there and smacks her on the butt.
Well, it's man talk, he says.
Man talk, yeah.
Yeah, so that's fine.
And that's the actress that played Dink. She's also the one that's painted gold in the opening credits.
Oh, okay.
That's who that is. I guess I should talk a little bit about like the book here. It's so the book is. I think this is the one that takes the most deviations. So in the book, the guy that's playing cards against Goldfinger is actually somebody that Bond met in Casino Royale.
Oh.
The book. And the guy is convinced that Goldfinger's scamming him. And so Bond, which of course he is. So Bond, is curious as to, what he's doing, how he's doing it. He charms a maid and gets into Goldfinger's room where our first Bond girl of the day makes her appearance, Jill Masterson, and she's basically sitting there spying and telling him what cards the opponent has. They're playing
Uh,
gin rummy,
Yeah,
which
I
I
thought
thought
that was
was
interesting.
yeah.
Like, I guess in modern times they'd play poker, but I did think it was interesting that the guy who's losing all the time didn't think it was odd that Goldfinger had an earpiece in with a very obvious wire going from his ear
Right.
down into his shirt. Like, maybe if you're losing all the time, that would be a sign.
They actually explained it in the book. He
Oh,
says
okay.
he's hard of hearing in the book. He
Ah,
doesn't
of
actually
course.
ever say that in the movie.
No.
So anyway, Bond calls out Goldfinger, basically tells him he better start losing so that that guy gets his money back. And this all impresses Jill, so Jill decides to leave with Bond, and they have a little slap and tickle session.
Obviously.
Great thing playing on the radio where the president said he was entirely satisfied, and so Bond cuts off the radio there, and then he says that makes two of us.
Yes.
I don't want to forget this. It's very important that I remember that my Dom Perignon is chilled to 38 degrees.
Oh, that is true. I did notice that.
Yeah.
I did notice.
And apparently I got
I was used to having it at 37,
No.
so I went and corrected that.
Now you know.
I heard that.
Yeah. Apparently you got to put on earmuffs when listening to the Beatles. That's the
Boy, I noticed that,
worst
didn't
line
I?
in the movie.
Boy, how about that?
That's so funny because they had obviously just come out. Clearly, then they were catered completely to teenagers,
Right.
And
so
kids,
to adults, they
somebody
sounded
like-
awful.
Yeah, exactly.
But that line has not aged well. But boy, am I glad it's in there.
Right. So James Bond is, in the kitchen, and then somebody comes in and knocks him out, and of course it's Odd Job. And he wakes up a bit later and sees that Jill is dead, and her body's been painted gold. Apparently,
Good thing they didn't kill James Bond right there, because right. I mean, it would have been easy, but why would you do that?
Yeah.
You need the rest of the movie to happen.
First things first, none of this happened in the book either. There was no girl getting painted.
Oh,
or
really?
anything, yeah. But the big thing with this is apparently people back then did that skin suffocation was a thing, that if you covered your entire body in paint, it would kill you. It's not a thing.
I always heard that growing up.
Yeah, it is not real. From everything I've read on it, it is not real.
Really? Next, you're going to tell me that Mikey did not eat Pop Rocks and drink Pepsi and his stomach exploded.
That's a good reference for the kids.
Yeah.
They'll all get that one. So now we go back to England, where Bond is discussing Goldfinger with M.
Wait, I need to point something out about
Yes.
that death scene.
Okay.
You may not care. You may not know. But are you familiar with the song Six Underground by Sneaker Pimps?
I am not.
Oh my gosh. You need to listen to it because it was inspired by the song that they are playing when he discovers that girl covered in gold paint.
Wow. Interesting tidbit. Charlie bringing some tidbits.
You
to
can
the
put that
table.
playlist or the songs in there, but it is a very odd tones
Interesting.
next to each other. And when you listen to the song, you will hear it pretty interesting.
Wow.
My wife actually didn't find it that interesting. I paused the movie to play it for her.
That's fine. I'm sure our 6 listeners will find it fascinating.
They'll go and listen to both things
Right.
immediately.
So Bond flies back to England, talks about Goldfinger with M. M tells Bond not to make it personal or he'll send 008. So this is the first time we hear that there are other agents with 00 numbers.
Right.
So 008 gets referenced. And
Personal meaning with women.
yeah, just because, he takes it hard that she got killed and he wants revenge and
Oh,
to
right.
try and not, to keep it professional. Kill him professionally or,
Yes.
track him professionally.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Bond once again tries to have a little banter with Moneypenny, and M shoots it down as usual. So from there we go to the Bank of England, and I figured you would like this. The governor of the Bank of England, where M and Bond are talking to him. His name is Colonel Smithers.
Nice.
Has to be what Simpsons got it from. There could be no other thing, right?
Clearly not.
So they're talking about gold.
It was great. I mean, they had to wear black tie
Oh yeah,
to have 3 guys sit around a table and have dinner.
and drink apparently crappy brandy. According
Right.
to them,
I know.
M thought it was fine.
I
But
know. I
Bond
loved his
didn't.
facial
Bond did not.
expression.
Yeah. So the bank governor is talking about the gold. It's leaving England and being sold in more expensive places. In the book, they say it's India is the big place where they're they're taking it. But from there, I wanted to talk briefly about the total amount of gold that's been mined is like 214,000 tons, which sounds like a lot, but still, it's basically like stacking three two-story houses on top of each other.
Yeah, right. For as much gold as you see in jewelry, not related to this, gold bars in Fort Knox.
Yeah.
Like, it is kind of amazing how much of a limited amount has ever been mined. Like, think of that compared to steel.
Right.
Obviously, right? I mean,
and they don't think that there's much left out down there that they can mine. So, I mean, there's still some, but it's been mined to death in most places. I think there's some places like Africa where it's still being mined pretty regularly. But yeah, I just blew my mind that that's all the gold there is in the world is.
I'm sure our listeners will find that fascinating. They can go look that up.
So Bond has his task. He's going to figure out what's going on with Goldfinger. So now we go to Q Branch. And this is where Charlie gets to gush, because the first thing we see, it's not Chekhov's gun, it's Chekhov's Aston Martin DB5.
Before they get there, do you notice they're doing a weapons test of a bullet vest?
Yes.
They're just shooting a gun right there in the lap. Right in the lap.
Reminds you of Spectre Island.
Yes, it does.
Collateral damage.
I mean, we're all just standing around the office one day, and over there, 5 feet from me, is a guy just shooting a gun at another guy.
All right.
Seems reasonable. But the Aston Martin DB5 has to be the most iconic vehicles of all time.
This is not its last appearance. Spoiler alert.
It's a beautiful car.
It is. It's amazing. I was looking at like the toys of it were hugely popular, and there was like a very limited run of it that was a gold version that you could get, that I think they're like thousands of dollars now on eBay or something for the authentic original gold Aston Martin DB5, but
not the life-size drivable gold.
No. That would be hard to drive, I imagine.
That's a beautiful car.
It is.
And the features were great. I loved the screen, which kind of looks ridiculous now. Like an actual screen on the dashboard of a car would be amazing.
So that's our main gadget from Q Branch. But then we already had a Smithers in this movie, and then we get a Homer, because Q gives him the little tracking device that's called a Homer.
Yes.
For him to be able to keep tabs on Goldfinger.
I'm glad there was a shoe involved, because the heel of the shoe hidden spy thing is just so classic.
Yeah. Bond makes some quip at some point where he says, "Oh, I can stop off for a quick one en route." And that was a nice little quip.
Yes.
But Q is having none of it. Q is
no, he takes his job seriously.
Yes, Q is now Q. He has no respect for Bond because Bond destroys all his stuff.
That's right. He just gives him that look when he says things.
And then this is Q's most famous line: "I never joke about my work, 007." But I love that guy. It was so funny because I was reading that the actor Desmond Llewellyn, he was going to be like deferential and treating Bond like a god basically. And the director of the movie was like, "No, you're sick of his crap. You don't want to deal with him. You have as much disdain as possible." And it works.
It works.
It's yes, I love it so much.
Because he makes all these insanely complicated gadgets for the time period, and they always end up getting destroyed.
Right. So now we get our second viewing of Goldfinger, this time on a golf course. I found it interesting that Sean Connery had never played golf before.
Interesting. He's Scottish.
I know. I thought
that's where they invented golf.
Yeah. And he took quite a liking to it. So there was like times where he had he wasn't supposed to start shooting or something until like noon, and he'd always get one of the crew or something to go with him and hit around or something. So he really took to the game after that.
Wow.
So James Bond gets paired with Goldfinger.
By accident.
And Odd Job, for some reason, gets to be Goldfinger's caddy. That did not happen in the book. It was just somebody that worked there. That was the caddy.
Oh.
I need a caddy that can conveniently find my ball.
I was going to say that can drop a ball out of pants.
Yes. I haven't golfed in a while, but I want to get back into it, so I need a caddy that'll help me out.
I could use that caddy that drops the ball out of his pants
Right.
when I play golf.
So this whole thing of him golfing with Goldfinger, it's a decent length scene, and it kind of shows us how Goldfinger is enticed to hear more from Bond and stuff. He drops the gold bar and everything, but the book, there was an entire chapter dedicated to all 18 holes of golf that they
Oh
played.
my goodness.
Ian Fleming was a huge golfer, and he was saying words I've never heard, referring to clubs and things.
Oh,
I've never
probably
heard,
the
yeah.
Scottish names for him. The
So
Mashie and the Niblick and
yeah,
all those things.
it was the longest chapter of the book by far, but it was still interesting. But it's just funny because obviously the movie, I think they show like 4 holes. There's like
Yeah.
one, the first hole, and then the one where he loses the ball, and the
There's
one where
only so
Bond.
much golf you can show to a movie to
Right.
regular non-golf fans.
Right. We get through the golf match, and of course, Bond has switched out the ball and disqualifies Goldfinger on a technicality because he was playing with a different ball at some point on there. That happened to me. I'd be screwed because I lose so many balls. I don't even know which one I'm using because they just go off into the woods so much anyway.
Well, yeah, the ones I'm using, I never finish with because,
Right. Because I forgot my scuba gear.
Yes, exactly.
So we get back to the cars, and I assume you want to talk about that car. It was like
Well, it is a
Phantom,
Rolls Royce, and it's spectacular.
the yellow
Beautiful.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. Bond puts the Homer on the car.
Did you notice that like the front is open where the driver sits?
I did see that.
Okay, so that's a Brougham style. Going back to the age of carriages, where your driver would sit outside on the front of the carriage and you'd be in the carriage. And so that's like a Brougham style of car. Yeah.
I'd love to have a car like that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And a driver.
I'd want to drive it though, actually.
And a house-sized amount of gold. These are little things I'm asking for.
Yeah. It's not too much.
Yeah. So we get to see Oddjob flex his muscles a little bit by taking out a statue with his hat. I mean, who throws a hat, honestly?
No, I mean, that's great. And that's some accurate throwing of a hat.
Right.
I did want to know, like, what is clearly there must be some metal in the brim, I suppose. Like, I'm not sure what that hat is made of.
Yeah, it's definitely like metal lined in the brim. You're right.
Yeah, like a Frisbee, one of those open throwing discs that is made of steel or something. Very sharp, obviously.
Right. So he's got the Homer on Goldfinger's car, so now he's following him into Europe. They're eventually going to be in Switzerland. There's a crazy driver driving Bond off the road at various points. And
driving what style of car?
It was a Ford Mustang.
It was a Ford Mustang. How many Ford Mustangs do you think had existed at that time? Not many.
I was going to say not many because from what I read, that was what introduced the Ford Mustang to Europe.
That's right.
This movie.
Yeah. I mean, seeing a Ford Mustang in Europe for me was striking.
Yeah.
And then very early Mustang. People debate whether it's a 64 and a half or a 65 Mustang, but basically Ford gave them that car just to have the car in there because brand new car and people hadn't really seen it before.
So the driver of the Ford Mustang is somebody named Tilly Masterson, who is the sister of Jill Masterson, who was killed with the gold paint earlier, trying to get revenge, obviously. I liked the shot where Goldfinger is down at the bottom of the hill.
Yes.
And then they pull back and Bond's looking at him. And then they pull back more and somebody's looking at Bond. I really thought that was a classy shot.
Great cinematography there. Yep.
And this is where the book goes in a completely different direction. Like up to this point, there's a lot of similarities. But from here, Tilly Masterson is in the rest of the movie, or the rest of the book, pretty much. Not so much in the movie.
Yeah, frankly, I was sad to see her go.
Yeah.
She seemed like she had a good head on her shoulders. She seemed pretty good.
Yeah. Somehow she kept that head on her shoulders despite Oddjob's hat.
Yes.
So after the shot, we have Bond and Tilly kind of racing each other, and then Bond gets to use his first gadget of his Aston Martin. With the what would you call that thing that came out of the wheel? The just like a spike.
It was. Yeah, I don't know what the official name is.
Shreds the tires, shreds the side of the car, which I don't know why she didn't say anything about the fact that her car got shredded too. I mean, it's
I know.
like tinfoil.
Trust me. I was thinking to myself, does she really think like that the shredded rubber was hitting far enough that it actually bent the sheet metal or whatever? But that was great.
Yeah. So Bond's just trying to stop her at that point. But real quick on that Aston Martin again, since we saw it again, they were kind of hesitant to let them put it in the movie, and then after it was so successful, Aston Martin sales went up like 60%.
Yeah, I guess it worked out.
I think that was a cheap car, so
No.
60% is probably a pretty good increase.
Yeah.
And then the producers were like, yeah, we never had a problem getting a car again after that.
I would imagine not.
I got a quote here because I thought this was interesting. So we had in one of the earlier episodes, we talked about how a kid like spotted a continuity error in From Russia with Love about that guy that died earlier in the movie.
Right.
The director got a letter that said, when James Bond and the Aston Martin leave Switzerland, the back tires are Pirelli CXXY. But when he arrives at the petrol station, they're Dunlap 402s.
Oh my
Yours sincerely, Charlie, age -3. Oh, wait, no, sorry. It was just kidding. It was Roger Brown, age 9.
Wow.
Did you notice that?
I got to tell you, I did not notice.
Wow.
That is a sharp eye.
That is. But the director wrote back and he's like, congratulations, you found one of the 6 intentional errors we made in this movie. And he's like, and I bet those kids went and saw it at least 10 more times.
I'll bet. Trying to spot like the what's wrong in this picture in the highlight magazine.
Yeah, highlights. I loved highlights. So Bond goes to investigate Auric Enterprises, which Auric is Goldfinger's first name. The outside shot was actually filmed in Switzerland of him looking at a building, but then all the interiors and stuff were shot at Pinewood Studios. Pinewood Studios is like a huge movie set kind of place, like the stuff you'd see out in Hollywood. And they shot at Pinewood.
But in England.
They shot in Pinewood until GoldenEye, so 1995.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Bond's checking out the Auric Enterprises. We see some henchmen walking around. I could not look at those henchmen and not think that they were in the TV show Fallout, or the video game Fallout, because they had that blue and yellow. Have you watched Fallout yet?
No.
Oh, you should watch that one. It's great. But that's all I kept seeing with those guys. And apparently they're all
Asians.
They're supposed to be Korean, according to the book. And he says in the book that he only hired Koreans. But the actor playing Mr. Ling, who was kind of like one of the bigwig guys that's walking around with Goldfinger, was also Kato in Pink Panther, which I have yet to watch Pink Panther.
Oh my gosh.
But do you know who Kato is?
Of course I know Kato. He jumps out of a refrigerator, Mike. I'm telling you.
One of these days I'll watch Pink Panther.
I did like their jumpsuits, though. Yeah. That they all had on matching jumpsuits. And I can only imagine, so there must have been a good recruiting office in Korea. If you want to be a henchman of an evil gold empire, just lie.
I feel like we need like theme music for you and your little henchman, because you're going to have one of these in every one of these movies.
Obviously. I mean, because there's so many henchmen.
Yes. Bond's looking around. Then he realizes there's somebody else out there in the woods, and it's Tilly Masterson who followed him. And she's trying to once again shoot Goldfinger. We know how great of a shot she is. And then Bond knocks her gun down and it triggers an alarm. So this is where our Aston Martin gets,
we get a full workout of it.
We get this long car chase, which at one point a car like goes over a cliff, and before it really hits anything,
it explodes.
Completely explodes.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Well, what actually happens when a car goes over a cliff probably just doesn't look that exciting, because basically it's just a big hunk of metal rolling down a cliff.
So a lot of
he gets to use the smoke screen.
Yeah.
Which is that's a great defense mechanism. Yeah. And then the oil slick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that road, I couldn't tell whether it was dirt. Like, honestly, it didn't look like the kind of road where an oil slick would work. But still, oil slick has become like a classic type of defense that you would have on a car.
There were a couple other gadgets that were going to be in the movie. There was going to be nails coming out of the lights, but I think that they decided that people could too easily recreate that particular thing. Like the light would flip up or something in the back and nails would come out.
They didn't want real humans doing that?
We're supposed to be a hidden weapon.
I mean, I could do an oil slick.
Yeah.
just reach out the window.
Yeah.
But I don't think actually in real life much would happen. Yeah. I think the car would basically drive through the oil.
I mean, I think you have a car in your garage that it would do an oil slick naturally, right?
Pretty much.
So there was a couple other gadgets. There was going to be a radar dish because why not?
Yeah.
And this is going to blow your mind.
It would probably be about the size of the radar dish in Dr. No that he was using, like about the size of a tiny like DirecTV satellite dish.
Very inconspicuous.
Yes.
Craziest thing, which we've already seen this in a Bond movie, but still, they were going to have a telephone in the car in 1964.
Wow.
Already seen it once. And I mean, I think it just would have been too
much.
But
at least that time he was in like London.
Yeah.
And there might have been some radio tower or something to take telephone calls there, in the middle of nowhere, Switzerland.
Yeah. So eventually they stop them and he tells Tilly to run off into the woods to escape. An odd job once again with that Frisbee hat, just right in the head, kills her. So that was.
I was really sad when she was a great character.
That was the first Bond girl that didn't get any slap and tickle.
Yeah, she seemed like very serious though. I don't think she seemed like the type who was going to fall for his nonsense.
Right. So Bond's captured. They take him back to the headquarters, and there's an arm lift that apparently you can only get
for the gatehouse.
Yeah, for the gatehouse by this nice old lady that lifts it up for you, and then she waves and curtsies as you go by. Really nice lady. I mean,
yeah.
Clearly she's going to be cool for the rest of this movie. So then Bond, for whatever reason, they let him drive the car. I still don't understand that. They're letting him drive the car into the headquarters. So Bond gets another chance to escape. And, you've got the henchman in the car with him. And of course,
with the gun pointed on him.
Yeah, of course you have to use the last thing that we haven't seen yet, which is the ejector seat. Because why would you tell us about the ejector seat if you're not going to use it? So he ejects the guy out and then goes through a crazy.
I just want to say.
Yes.
The ejection seat shot the guy maybe 10 feet in the air. I just really was not quite as impressed with the amount of ejection of the ejection seat to what happened. I found that scene comical when they pulled back and showed the guy being ejected from the car. Just sort of went a little bit up in the air and out of the car. Clearly effective enough to get him out of the car.
And clearly a real guy coming out of there. There's no way that was a dummy.
Clearly not. But it really just like, boop.
So Bond, prolonging the inevitable, is driving around again, trying to get out. And then he comes upon a alleyway that there's like headlights coming on. And the director admitted that he couldn't get it to look as good as he wanted it to. Because honestly, when I was watching it, it didn't look like it was a car coming at him or anything. It just looked like lights.
It did look like lights.
Yeah.
And you wondered what was down there.
It was a car driving towards him. So he swerves off to the side, hits the styrofoam building, and is captured.
Yes.
So now Bond is captured, and he is tied to a golden slab in Goldfinger's whatever room we want to call this one. His torture room, we'll say.
The killing room.
The killing room. There we go. And just, having their back and forth about, what Goldfinger's going to be doing and everything. And
with henchmen milling around with a bunch of machines behind a control panel.
Yeah. And then they bring in the laser that is going to cut very slowly.
Laser powered by neon lights.
Powered by neon lights. That was interesting how they shot that though, because they actually they were cutting underneath as
yes, there was a guy with an oxyacetylene torch underneath. Yeah.
Dragging it out forever. And then of course we get quite possibly the greatest line of any Bond movie. Definitely top 5 most memorable lines of any Bond movie. Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
That is outstanding.
It's great. I love that line.
Now, I thought it was interesting about the laser. So in the book, I heard it was a saw.
It was a saw. Yep.
So when I read about the laser, because I wondered how they did the laser, and I read the same thing about the torch, and they had pre-cut it and put solder in there so that it would, look good and it would cut along that line.
Yes.
But lasers had only really existed since they had been announced or something in 1960.
Right.
So they were a very new thing. And then They tried to use a real laser, but you couldn't see the beam because,
Right.
of course, we've all seen laser pointers, and you don't see the beam.
You see the end point. Yeah.
But the fact that they knew about lasers at the time to put that in the movie was pretty impressive.
Commentary I listened to on this when they were talking about that, how it was such a radical new thing. So that was really cool. Bond manages to wiggle his way out of getting slowly killed by the laser by mentioning Operation Grand Slam, which is Goldfinger's big plan. Like I'd said earlier, big deviation from the book. Obviously, you said it was the Saw. Tilly didn't die that early. And then from there, they just like become kind of like assistants to Goldfinger. I don't know what the end game was supposed to be with Bond.
Really?
Yeah, Tilly and Bond become Goldfinger's assistants. It was really
like Stockholm
weird.
Syndrome.
Something like that, yeah. Or Bond just trying to figure out a way to stay alive, I guess. But in the movie, Bond is once again knocked out and wakes up on a plane. And now we get Bond girl number 2, Pussy Galore. From now on, to keep this PG, we will refer to her as PG. Played by Honor Blackman. She was fresh off success from a TV show, like I said earlier, called The Avengers, which was it was some like British spy show. Did you ever have you ever
I've never seen that.
I think they made a movie like in early 2000s that had like, don't quote me on this, but Uma Thurman, maybe? I don't know.
That sounds
might not have been. It might have been a British woman, so I can't remember for sure. But Honor Blackman, she's great. I mean, that character's great, and her as an actress is great in this movie.
And I like her attitude.
Yes.
She's, you know what, we've had 2 women in this movie who are not really impressed by Bond and are not falling for his shtick.
Right.
My wife, when she first saw PG, her comment was, "Why did the women in the 60s have pointy boobs?"
That is a continuing theme. We saw that in the last movie, too.
I'm sure some men designed bras back then.
So a little interesting tidbit with this character. The censors wanted her to be named Kitty Galore.
I can understand why.
However, Prince Philip came to the set one day and did a photo op with Honor Blackman, and the newspaper the next day said Pussy and the Prince. And everyone thought it was hilarious. They thought it was very amusing. So they did not have to change her name because of that. So Bond wakes up. She introduces herself. He says, "I must be dreaming." Then they fly to the US. And this is another scene where we get really good accommodations for Bond as he's being held captive. I mean, it's a really nice plane. He's got a nice seat. He's able to go and take a shave. Funny little side bit with the shaving stuff. Apparently, one of the Cubby Broccoli, the producer, he had put like Gillette stuff everywhere in the bathroom because he was getting a product. He wanted a product placement for Gillette, and the director was like, "No, this is not happening." I couldn't even tell if the actual shaving cream was Gillette by the end of it. But it's funny that picture, or the shot of Bond putting the shaving cream on. They had to have taken a still of that and put it on like Gillette ads or something. It just looked too much like it was him posing for an ad. So he gets his nice shave, and they're flying to the US. I'll talk about PG's character a little bit here, because the book, it's crazy in the book. In the book, she's one of the like thugs, one of the crime syndicate people. That she was like independent. She was in an all lesbian syndicate. She did not work for Goldfinger.
Wow.
Yeah. So all the the flying circus and everything, it was a lesbian crime syndicate.
That's something.
Yeah.
There probably wouldn't have been a lot of female pilots in 1964 or even earlier when the book was written?
The book was like 53, I think.
Yeah, so that would have been
59.
Would have still been fairly rare for women pilots, I'm sure.
Right. So they land in America. But before we get to that point, we get a little brief thing with M talking to Leiter about the Homer and where they see him. So they see that he's going to America. M says he's evidently well on top at the moment, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but it still sounds Bondish, so it's fine. So we're at the airport now. Odd Job is there to pick up Bond, and that was a country squire wagon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
I thought that
beautiful
was
country squire wagon.
Very nice.
And Felix is in what? A Thunderbird.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful Thunderbird.
So they take Bond to Goldfinger's stables. They get to Kentucky and they get to the stables and stuff pretty quickly. These accommodations aren't so nice. He's in just like a cell there. We get a brief bit of Felix trying to, they're trying to figure out where they're at with the Homer. Nice product placement with KFC in the background. So we're back to Goldfinger in his, they call it his romper room. And there's all these weird mob stereotype guys. And this was my least favorite scene of the movie because all these guys seemed just like absolute stooges, terrible actors with some of the worst dialogue. Like one of the guys, like, "You owe me $1 million," and just the way he delivered it was just obnoxious. It was so obnoxious. But it's funny because PG was supposed to be one of those henchmen in the, in the book. She was one of those henchmen, and in the book, those guys all survive. They're all working they're all working with Goldfinger up to the end. To we'll get to it with
in the movie. You can sort of tell things aren't
they're
going to end well.
Even the guy that's like, "I'm out."
Yeah,
it's not gonna go well. So Bond is in a cell. He escapes. Why'd the guy go open the cell? All he had to do was
seriously.
Just Bond messing with him, so he just had to go look. So he's under the model because Goldfinger's starting to talk about Fort.
Okay, can we talk about his plans that he shows to everyone? He has the most complicated ways of basically showing a map.
Yeah.
A pool table has to flip upside down. An entire wall has to turn into a screen to essentially say, "I'm going to break into Fort Knox," which is basically one building in the middle of a map of basically a couple roads.
Right.
But it was outstanding how complicated it was for him to show them his plan.
I like that Bond was peeking out from the model Fort Knox from
it was very good.
Like, that doesn't seem very secure. PG finds Bond, captures him once again. We go back into the romper room again, and one of the mobsters, Solo, decides to opt out, take his money, and go. So he'll be fine. Goldfinger escorts Solo to the car.
By the way,
yeah,
what's the fascination with electric sliding doors? Even in there, right? Knobs are clearly going to go out of style in the future. Nobody can use knobs. Once again, you have to have doors that like open for you because using a knob, it's just too much.
Yeah. It's like telling some device to turn your lights off for you instead of just doing it yourself.
That's a real thing, though, because you have to stand up. When you get to the door, you're already walking.
They should make a device where if you like clap your hands, it'll...
I like that.
Patent pending. So the one mobster that opts out, Solo, he actually... There was going to be a TV show called Solo that it wasn't anything to do with this movie. It was just going to be a TV show called Solo, and they said they got
not about a man from outer space.
No, not Han.
A long time ago.
No. I think this guy may be in Jim Solo or something.
Okay.
I have no idea what his name was, but they were going to have the show called Solo. Producers of Goldfinger didn't like it, so they changed the name of the show to The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think there is a character in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. named Solo. But I've never seen the show.
Now we clearly have to watch it.
Yeah.
Our next podcast will be about The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
So Goldfinger escorts Solo to the car. Bond shows up with PG and Bond.
What kind of car was it? Looked to me like a Lincoln Continental with suicide doors.
Yes, it is a Lincoln Continental. That is true.
It's beautiful.
I actually have a little note about that. So before we see Solo get taken away by Oddjob, but before that, Leiter, he clearly wanted some KFC, so he went in and got some because he's walking out of the KFC the next time we see him. But Oddjob it's a very short drive to the airport from Fort Knox.
It really is.
If you look at it on the map, it's about 50 miles, so we won't worry about that.
Doesn't work for the movie.
So Oddjob kills Solo and then takes the car to a junkyard, whatever you want to call it. And yes, a Lincoln Continental was crushed, and people were pissed that they crushed that nice Lincoln Continental.
It was outstanding how he parked it and immediately the magnet came down and got it and crushed it into that cube.
Yeah. And it's funny, that car crash scene was actually shot in Miami.
where some car crushing company agreed to have the scene filmed.
Right. What's funny is so they did the car crushing in Miami. They couldn't ship the crushed car to England for the additional shots. So somebody actually had to recreate the entire crushed car over at Pinewood Studios. Yeah.
What I thought was fascinating was that crushed car gets immediately dropped into the back of a Ford Falcon Ranchero. But I thought it was fascinating that a 5,000-pound Lincoln Continental was put in the back of that Ranchero with an 800-pound capacity.
Wow, you did
and it just drove off.
That's some good research.
These are the horrible things my mind does when I watch movies to completely take me out of just the fantasy of watching the movie. Thinks, how on earth could that car carry an entire another car in the back of it? And by the way, with no blood oozing out.
I did think about that. I didn't think that deeply about it. And I definitely didn't research the load capacity of some random car from the 60s, but that's interesting. So we get a couple of kind of just toss-off scenes where Leiter loses the signal. We see PG and Goldfinger chit-chatting for a little bit. Back at the stables, we see James Bond looking really sad and morose in his cell. He's escorted out.
Clearly he was going to die.
Right. From there, he gets taken back out again to go see Goldfinger. And that's where we will pick up with our second companion beverage.
Yes.
So James Bond is escorted out to his accommodating host, Mr. Goldfinger, where Goldfinger and Bond enjoy mint juleps together.
Like genteel Kentucky gentlemen.
Right. And so my wife, the bartender from very, very long ago, made us some mint juleps. So cheers.
Cheers.
You know, that's pretty good. I can see why they drink so many of them at Derby time.
I like the fresh mint on there. I mean, that's really good.
We'll put the recipe for that on the show notes, but the bourbon that we used was Woodford Reserve, so we had to get some good old Kentucky bourbon. I will say that this drink was so good that I won't even take a jab at Kentucky tonight, even though I'm usually morally required to, being in Indiana.
I know. You know the funny thing? So I'm from Ohio originally, and we always made jokes about West Virginia. We didn't make them about Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, for us, it's, Indiana keeping Michigan safe from Kentucky for 200 years. I know at least one good person from Kentucky, so it's all right. But no, seriously.
I know. There's good people from Kentucky.
Louisville's a pretty cool city to go visit. They got a lot of history there. Lexington's pretty nice too. I've been on the Bourbon Trail. The Bourbon Trail is actually very fun. So
the scenery is beautiful.
Yes, it is. Do highly recommend it.
And their bluegrass is outstanding.
It's very blue. Oh wait, no, it's not. So now that we've had our mint juleps, this is where Goldfinger tells Bond what he's going to do. The most preposterous plan ever. He's going to nuke the gold supply so that the value of his gold increases. And that you would only find that in a Bond movie. It's perfect for a Bond movie, but it's just preposterous.
Bond finds it pretty good idea, though.
I guess. So now we get to the cringeworthy scene of the movie.
Well, hang on.
Yes. What'd I miss?
Don't you remember when the car comes back? Odd Job comes back.
Yes.
And what's the quip?
Oh, sorry. That was what that was. Okay. Yes, he said, as you said, he had a pressing engagement. That is a good quip. So now we get to James Bond and PG in the barn. And looking at this scene on modern eyes is very uncomfortable. I'm not going to get on a soapbox or anything here, but I think that most people would agree that this probably wasn't the best route to take with this, because they're fighting. The fight's cool, and she obviously can hold her own. And it was very cool that, because Honor Blackman, she actually learned judo, I think, for the Avengers TV show.
Oh, okay.
So
she was a good fighter.
She was. And there's not a whole lot of stunt work in that. There's a couple of the flips and stuff where it's stunt people. But, it gets to the point where they're laying in the straw and Bond is clearly being forceful to her, and it's awkward, and it's 10 seconds of the movie. I think we acknowledge it. We understand.
It didn't age well.
It did not age well, but
My wife's comment was, "Give me a break."
so what I found funny though was Honor Blackman. She read the book after being cast in the movie and everything. And as I told you earlier, PG was a part of a lesbian crime syndicate.
As
Her,
one will be.
right. Her comment was the idea that because the same kind of thing happens in the book. She ends up falling for Bond. The idea that a lesbian is going to take one look at Sean Connery and go gasps and change sex, it's absolutely ludicrous. So
That is, I mean, at least they didn't try to play that in the movie.
right.
Right. You still, obviously, for the time period those books were written, you're supposed to just think he's so suave and sophisticated that why wouldn't any woman fall for him? And I sort of understand that angle to the stories, that he's just so amazingly suave. And I mean, he is, right?
Right.
But it doesn't age well.
So now we move on to the big plan, Operation Grand Slam, where PG's flying circus is going to drop gas on the entire town and apparently kill all of them. I was reading the commentary on, or I was listening to the commentary on this. All of the pilots were just crop duster pilots wearing terrible blonde wigs and smoking cigars.
Oh, that's hilarious.
If you don't look closely, you don't see it. But when they land at the hangar,
yeah,
if you look at the last one that pulls into the shot, it's clearly a dude. And
that's excellent. And now I have to watch.
Pretty hilarious. So all these pilots, they release this gas. Everybody instantly falls down. What I found very cool about this scene, though, is that they were really at a base near Fort Knox, and that was real military guys performing in those scenes. They could not pay them, so the producers said that they gave all of them beers for performing in those scenes. But basically, the director would like whistle once, and they'd all look up as though the planes were flying over. Then he'd whistle again, and that's when they were all supposed to drop.
The fact that the gas was supposed to disperse that quickly, that people would inhale and drop instantly, of course, I just found the scene very funny. The way people just instantly dropped to the ground. And the way cars were pre-turned over.
Yes. You had the people in like the town where like they'd clearly gotten into a wreck and one of them's dangling out of the side of the car. It's like, that's a very elaborate ruse. Good job.
I did find myself, unfortunately, this is how I ruin movies. Did the rest of the women in the other planes know that she had switched the canister and they weren't dropping it down? So did they need the ruse for the rest of the pilots who would theoretically notice? Of course, it was pretty good because obviously Goldfinger's going to drive through there and needs to see all the people on the ground as he drives into Fort Knox.
Yeah. The book was much more plausible. He just poisoned the water supply. Like he did it like 24 hours before and everybody was poisoned.
That's frighteningly possible.
Right. So now all the bad guys are driving to Fort Knox. At first I was like, why don't they just ram the building? But then I remembered, they said that the gate was electrified. So I guess, got to blow it up instead.
Plus it's a good excuse to blow stuff up.
Right. They have the big laser again, which interesting fake fact, that laser was later used in the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids because it looked just like the one. Wasn't really, but that's all I could think of.
Well, but in a movie, they had determined what a laser looks like.
Right. In the book, they never get into Fort Knox. And the directors and the producers that's not going to work in the movie. I mean, they have to get in. So, of course, they blow up the gate, and then they all drive in. Goldfinger arrives with the nuke, then the nuke gets wheeled out, with Bond getting locked to the nuke. All of this just to kill him in a different way.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Did they film any of this anywhere close to Fort Knox? That building, was the building Fort Knox?
No, the building was Pinewood Studios. They recreated it. But
they were clearly outside.
The
outside shots. Yeah.
The aerial shots of the planes, that was right there. And the officials at Fort Knox were getting very antsy. They didn't know what was going on, and Cubby Broccoli somehow smoothed things over for that.
You'd think you might tell him ahead of time.
Yeah, I think they did. It's just they didn't think they were gonna fly as low as
Oh,
they
okay.
did. So the exterior, that's Pinewood Studios. Nobody goes in Fort Knox. Nobody has
I would
any
think
idea.
so, right?
Even presidents don't go into Fort Knox.
And my guess is the interior shots of Fort Knox probably look nothing like real Fort Knox because probably people don't know what it looks like in
Right.
there, right?
I read that somebody wrote a letter to like the director or something and said, "We really appreciate your wild imagination with the inside of Fort Knox."
It's it's a government building.
Yeah.
It's probably way more boring.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's just a bunch of gold just kind of stacked around and in a big
In
warehouse.
in crates in a warehouse
Yeah.
with a lot of fluorescent lights.
I mean, that's probably also where the spaceship is, right? Area
Obviously.
51.
Yeah, yeah. Where the aliens.
Really in
They
there.
keep the aliens.
So they're inside Fort Knox. This is the point where all the army and everybody are awakened to go in and stop them. So the army fights back. Goldfinger changes because he's like Dr. No. Ultimately, he's just a big loser and a wuss anyway. So he
Right.
changes and kills Mr. Ling with his golden gun, and then picks up another gun and kills a bunch of the soldiers.
I'm not sure an actual golden gun would work very well, as soft as gold is.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a good metal for making a gun.
And yet, this isn't the last time they use it.
No?
So now we go to Bond in the vault. We have this nuke counting down, and I wish this is a big pet peeve for me is like the countdowns in movies. They're never accurate. It's like
No, I always in my head am trying to, when they switch away from the countdown, I'm trying to count in
right.
my head of where it would actually be going.
Yeah, it just gets out of control. But Bond does eventually.
Don't watch the series 24, by the way.
No kidding. Bond uses gold to get his handcuffs off, and then he gets his fight with Oddjob. Bond tries to attack Oddjob. I mean, who throws a gold bar, honestly?
I know.
That was pretty awesome, though. I loved Oddjob's face just standing there when he did that.
How much does a gold bar weigh?
I want to say it's like 20 pounds or something.
That's what I was going to say.
Because
It's heavy.
He was shot putting it. Bond was
it's
shot
heavy.
putting it, yeah.
It's not, I mean, for something that size, it's very dense and very heavy.
Now, listeners, that was one of 6 intentional mistakes that we made. If you can spot the other 5.
Listen to this at least 20 times if you
Yeah.
haven't spotted them.
So a lot of back and forth between Bond and Oddjob with Oddjob throws his hat at him again and knocks off a wire. So, I mean, you can clearly see that wire is going to be used. So,
obviously.
and eventually Bond throws the hat, misses badly. It gets stuck in the bars. And I mean, why are those bars even there?
I know,
Great.
but it looks good because you
It
can
does.
see all the gold back there,
Right.
right? The real way it is probably a bunch of boring rooms, and you want to see stacks and stacks
Yeah.
of gold.
And apparently it would be like impossible to stack gold that way too. That was something that was on the commentary.
That wouldn't surprise. Imagine the weight of all that
Right.
and everything. The other thing I'd like to imagine is the force you would have to throw that hat to get embedded in steel bar.
Right.
I can't even imagine.
Oddjob goes for his hat, and Bond takes that opportunity to electrocute the bars and kill Oddjob. The actor, they had real sparks and stuff shooting up, obviously, and he held it so long because he wanted to get a good shot that he actually got burnt from it. I mean, he wasn't hurt bad, but he did get burnt from it. Kind of like going back to From Russia with Love, how Kleb, the actress, was super nice and everybody loved her. Everybody loved the guy that played Oddjob. They said he was just great to be around.
His smile in the show is so good. His facial, he never really says anything, but his facial expression is outstanding.
Yeah. Same with Gert Frobe, Goldfinger. They said he was super nice guy. Which, I mean, why wouldn't they be? I mean, they're actors.
No, right. I mean, they're just working, having fun together.
Right. Now that Oddjob's dead, Bond's going to try to shut off the bomb. He's working it open and trying to figure out which wire to pull. Somebody comes in running in, some random guy, and just flips some kind of switch. And of course, which I don't remember the first time I noticed this, of course the timer ends on 007. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that.
Yeah, you don't even think about it, but it's like,
no.
007.
That's great.
Yeah. Because they said they were originally going to end it on 3. It's like, no, you got to end on 007.
Obviously.
Now, I will say this is where, because I told you about Connery, he wore a hairpiece throughout all of his Bond run. You can kind of see it in this one. He looks pretty disheveled, and that hair is like really getting a workout. And in this particular scene, he's like really sweaty and stuff. And
And how old is he when he's filming this?
34,
Wow.
yeah, 34.
People look older in the old
They
days, don't
definitely,
they?
they definitely do.
Well, of course, they wore suits. I mean, I love Felix Leiter walking into the pool scene wearing
Mhm.
a suit, walking by the pool. Like, just
Right.
the number of things people did wearing fancy clothes
Right.
is just so hard to imagine.
So Leiter comes in and asks Bond, "Where's your butler friend?" And there's where we get our second quip. He blew a fuse. Pretty good.
That's a good one. They're getting good at these
Yeah.
by this point. Are any of these quips in the book?
No, he's not really
So
cheeky in the book so far.
yeah, so the quips are basically a construction of the
Oh, the
movies.
quips are mostly ad-libbed. I read that Connery did most of those
Oh,
himself.
really?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
So the day is saved. Bond is given a private jet to fly to the White House. And by the way, it was revealed that PG changed out the gas in the plane so that they wouldn't die, obviously.
You know, one forced encounter with James Bond is enough for her to switch sides.
Right. More ways than one, apparently.
Yeah.
So now we're on the private jet to the White House. So Goldfinger is on the plane, of course, with his golden gun to go after Bond one more time. And there's a callback to earlier in the movie where PG has a gun on Bond in the plane coming over to America, and he says it would rip the fuselage and we'd all die.
Right, right.
So, of course, that comes back and the gun ends up firing. And
You know, by the way, they've won and they've beaten Goldfinger. And sure, he got away,
yeah,
but like the whole army is there.
how
And they
big is-
can't protect that plane
right,
in that hangar well enough to keep Goldfinger getting on the plane.
right. In possibly the worst special effect of any Bond movie to date, we see Goldfinger get sucked out of the plane. That did not look good. That did not age well. I'm sure at the time people were like, "Wow, that's amazing," but that's definitely one that has not aged well.
It did sort of make me want to see what would actually happen
Yeah.
if a guy of the size of Goldfinger got sucked through a window like
Right.
that. And my son had asked me if that would really happen, and I said, I think that would really happen. I don't know if he'd get fully sucked out that window based on his size and the window size.
Yeah.
It wouldn't end well though.
Right. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but there's a random dead henchman on the floor in the plane. We don't know why he's there. We don't know how he got
didn't
dead
see
on the
it.
floor. I didn't see it either, but when I was watching the commentary,
So anyone
about
could
it,
have killed him.
yeah,
He's just there.
it's just there. But now we
It's
have
a bad henchman job.
the plane starting to crash, and PG's trying her best to pull up, and then we cut to the radar. We see the plane dropping straight down. Then we see another little blip that comes off to the side.
Okay. I mean, I know why they did that. But the fact that a radar would see
Right,
the people in the ejection going out the side,
right.
and what range would it have to be for the dot to go that fast away from the plane?
Right.
Considering the range of that radar would probably be many miles.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Bond was in a jetpack, which we know doesn't happen for at least
No,
10 more
it
movies.
does happen.
Funny part about that scene is that so obviously they land and it's a parachute and they land. They're by a nice little waterfront and they have their little slap and tickle, and that's the movie. No boat ending, so they're not on a boat that time.
Were there any boats even involved in this movie?
No, not really.
I don't think so.
It's crazy. The One of the earlier scripts of the movie, they wanted to have Bond and PG slapping and tickling while they're going down in the parachute. It's like, how could you?
The logistics of that.
Yes.
Not to mention, at least for someone who's never been in a parachute, I guess both of them are like experienced people.
Yeah.
The terror that would be going on for me
Yeah.
in a parachute like that, having
Right.
just ejected from a plane that's about to crash. I just don't see that being the time.
Right. And that's it. That's Goldfinger. Have a few little tidbits of trivia for this one. The stuntmen were British, and several of them were in the car chase scenes in Switzerland in particular. They made them up to look Korean. There's one though, I actually did notice this in one of the car chase scenes. It's clearly some white dude driving the car down the in the dark when he's supposed to
Interesting.
be a Korean guy.
Okay.
Yeah. The rating, it's rated PG, but to get a PG rating in the US, they had to tamp down on the sex. To get the equivalent of a PG rating in the UK, they had to tamp down on the violence. So it's just an interesting dichotomy between what,
What's
British Americans.
tolerated
Yeah.
in each society, right?
The last shots of the film were taken on August 12th, 1964, which is the day Ian Fleming died.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I found this fascinating. Ian Fleming thought that Hoagie Carmichael would be a good James Bond,
Really?
who is a Hoosier
Yeah.
from Indiana. So that I thought that was funny. And then I looked him up. It's like I can see it because the book's Bond is a little older, a little more debonair.
Right.
Fleming ultimately did like Connery as Bond, but at first he just like didn't see him as fitting that mold. So that's the
It's
trivia.
funny because now, of course, he is just who you think of as James Bond. I
Mhm.
mean, being in these first ones, that's just what you think of.
Right. Even if he's not your favorite, I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, he's just like the prototype James Bond.
Final thoughts now. So I do really, really like this one a lot. And it checks every James Bond box. Everything that becomes a mainstay moving forward is because of this movie.
Well, we get the Aston Martin
Mhm.
and all the tricks on the car.
Yeah.
Which are just great.
The villains are great. The acting is great. Honor Blackman is really awesome as Pussy Galore. And, of course, Connery's at the top of his game.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was good. Like I said, you have two women characters in the movie who are sort of to an extent not falling for his thing, and they're like have their own agency, right? I mean,
yes.
she's a pilot and the sister has taken up avenging her sister's death, and
Yeah.
she's going off on her own and shooting at Goldfinger, which is not necessarily something I would do.
Right.
Sorry, brothers, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I thought there were so many good things in the movie.
I give this one a 5-star. We'll get to the ranking of it here in a second, but I still say it's a 5-star movie. I do. I do
think
enjoy
so.
this one.
It's got all the elements.
So let's do the rankings now. So far I have From Russia with Love at number 1, Dr. No at number 2. I would put this one at number 2. I still love From Russia with Love, even though it doesn't have everything that the Bond movies after have. I think it's Karim Bey that does it for me. He's still
He is really
I love that guy.
He is really good. But
So
see, for me,
yeah.
I think I'll put this one at number 1 because I love seeing all that Martin
Yeah.
is so good, and all of the bullet screen on the back. We didn't even talk about that, but
Right.
that pops up on the back, and the oil slick and everything, and all the classic elements are there,
Right.
and the quips are getting better. I love it.
So Bond girl ranking. So far we have Tatiana Romanova, Honey Rider, Sylvia Trench. I'll just say it, Pussy Galore is number 1, just because of like what you were saying.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
she's not just a Bond girl. She's
not just falling for him.
Yeah.
Like I sort of, even the part where she does, I wish they had done it differently. But the way she is in the movie, you do think she's got a head on her shoulders. She can make her own decisions. So
Yeah.
that's why I wish it was a different way she decided to sort of go against Goldfinger. But still, she's a great character.
Right. And I would say after that, I would probably just say Tilly and Jill below Honey Rider. So PG number 1, Tatiana number 2, Honey Rider number 3, Tilly number 4, Jill number 5, and then Sylvia Trench. She just gets on here because she was in 2, and she doesn't really do much. But
no, she doesn't do much. Not much happens. Yeah, I agree.
Villain ranking. So right now we have Grant, Kleb, Dr. No. This is a tough one. Grant's really cool in From Russia with Love. I think I would probably go Grant, Goldfinger, Odd Job, Kleb. So I would put Goldfinger and Odd Job second and third.
I think that's about right. Now, Dr. No, he just doesn't do much.
Right.
Right. So I think he's clearly at the bottom as far as that goes. You just
he's
don't
there.
see him that much, and he just sort of, he can spend $1 million, but
Right.
that's about it.
It's kind of snooty and aloof and just no personality.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Sidekick ranking, I mean, we have Felix Leiter again, so really no change there. I mean,
No.
Harimbe, then Quarrel, and Felix Leiter.
I wish Tilly, was it?
Yeah.
I wish she'd been with him longer, because I think she would have been a good sidekick.
Yes.
She seemed like pretty driven.
Right. Yeah, like I said in the book, I mean, although they both become nothing in the book after a while. It's weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Quip ranking. So we have Shocking and He Blew a Fuse. Number 1 right now is I think they were on their way to a funeral. I think that one has to stay number 1. I think You've Had Your 6 has to stay number 2, at least for me. Those are still my 2 favorites. But then I think I'd put Shocking and He Blew a Fuse after that.
I liked Shocking a lot. I think I'm putting that at number 1.
Is that your favorite?
Yeah.
All right. And then the last 2 were, well, from this angle, things are shaping up nicely, and She Should Have Kept Her Mouth Shut, which are fine, but, Russia with Love, actually, my least favorite quips. Only at 2 for Bond in a boat at the end. We're up to 8 slapping tickles now. So 3 movies, he's bedded 8 women. Congratulations. So now we got a new one, the gadget ranking. We have 2 gadgets. We have the briefcase from Russia with Love, and then we have the Aston Martin DB5. I'm gonna guess you're gonna say the Aston Martin number 1.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
And I would agree.
Oh, it's so iconic.
It's amazing.
I mean, that's a beautiful car to begin with. Even with no gadgets, it's a beautiful car.
Yep.
But the things they put on there have become just almost like, I mean, oil slick, and like if you play video games, these are things that you will have on a vehicle, right? I mean, it's just so good.
Makes me think of a game from the 80s called Spy Hunter that I think had like almost all of those things.
Yeah.
You had like the oil slick. Do you remember that?
Oh, absolutely. I remember that.
Well, I think that'll do it. You know what? We've never said what the next movie is going to be at the end of the episode, so we'll say that this
What
time.
is the next movie going to be, Mike?
The next one is going to be Thunderball. I will be honest, it's been a bit since I've watched Thunderball. I can't remember exactly what goes on in it.
I don't remember what goes on either.
I
only remember Tom Jones sings Thunderball.
Right. So I will make sure to I've already got a drink figured out though, because I do know where it takes place. So stay tuned for that.
All right.
Charlie, thanks once again.
Yeah, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Bottled and Bond. If you'd like to send us a message, you can do so at bottledandbondpod@gmail.com. Until your next briefing, pour yourself a drink, light a smoke, and find yourself a spirited companion. Goodbye.